in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. But today, being 16th of January, we are going to have discuss or bring to you, talk to you about a very, very great personality. And that's why the today's topic is Nani A. Palkiwala, a legend. On December 11, 2002, a banner flew high on Marine Drive, Mumbai, which read, "We the nation, we the people have lost a legend." Today, 101 years back, on 16th January 1920, Nani Adreshar Palkiwala was born in Bombay, now Mumbai, in what was then the Bombay Presidency, to blue-collar, middle-class Parsi parents. His family name derives from the profession of his forefathers, a common practice among Parsis who had been manufacturers of palanquins, palkis. He was educated at Masters Tutorial High School and later at St. Xavier's College, both in Bombay. He was a dedicated scholar and not letting a stammer hold him back, he excelled. At college, he earned a master's degree in English language and literature and thus overcame his speech impairment. Nani Palkiwala was called to the bar in 1946 and served in the chambers of the legendary Sir Jamshedji Behramji Kanga in Bombay. He quickly gained a reputation as an eloquent and articulate barrister and was often the center of attention in court, where students of law and younger members of the Bar Association would flock to watch him. His excellent court craft and an extraordinary ability to recall barely known facts rendered him an irresistible force. Nani Palkiwala initial forte was commercial and tax law. Together with Sir Jamshedji, he authored what was then and still is today an authoritative work, The Law and Practice of Income Tax. Palkiwala was 30 years old at that time of the first printing. Sir Jamshedji later admitted that the credit for this work belonged exclusively to Nani Palkiwala. Nani Palkiwala had a deep respect, indeed reverence, for both the Constitution of India and for the cardinal principles he saw embedded in it. I quote, "The Constitution was meant to impart such a momentum to the living spirit of the rule of law that democracy and civil liberty may survive in India beyond our own times and in the days when our place will known us no more." Unquote. Nani Palkiwala saw the Constitution as a legacy that had to be honored while simultaneously being flexible. The accumulation of Palkiwala's success before the Supreme Court came in the famous Keshwanand Bharti versus the state of Kerala case in 1973. Not only did Nani Palkiwala interpret the Constitution as a message of intent, but also saw it as a social mandate with a moral dimension. As he later stated in the famous Privy Purse case, I quote, "The survival of our democracy and the unity and integrity of the nation depend upon the realization that constitutional morality is no less essential than constitutional legality. Dharma, rightness, sense of public duty or virtues lives in the hearts of the public man. When it dies there, no constitution, no law, no amendment can save it." Unquote. He was a strong proponent of the rights of freedom of expression and freedom of the press. In the case before the Supreme Court, Bennett Coleman and Company versus Union of India, Nani Palkiwala argued that newsprint was more than just a general commodity. I quote, Newsprint does not stand on the same footings as steel. Steel will yield products of steel. Newsprint will manifest whatever is thought of by man. Unquote. In a landmark case, Ahmedabad, St. Xavier's College Society versus State of Gujarat, Palkiwala argued that the extent right of a state government to administer an academic institution did not extend to the right to maladminister. The majority of the 9-judge bench upheld his contention, significantly strengthening the rights of the minorities. His famous annual budget speeches had humble beginnings in 1958 in a small hall of an old hotel called Green Hotel in Bombay. He spoke without notes and reeled off facts and figures from memory for over an hour, keeping his audience in rapt attention. The audience in these meetings was drawn from industrialists, lawyers, businessmen, and the common individuals. Nani Palkiwala's speeches were fascinating for their brevity and clarity. His budget speeches became so popular throughout India, and the audience were then grew up so large that bigger halls and later the Brabourne Stadium in Bombay had to be booked to keep pace with the demand of an audience of over 20,000. It was aptly said that in those days that there were two budget speeches, one by the finance minister and the other by Nani Palkiwala. And Nani Palkiwala's speech was undoubtedly the more popular and sought after. Nani Palkiwala was appointed Indian ambassador to the United States in 1977 and served in the capacity till 1979. He received honorary doctorates from Princeton University, Rutgers University, Lawrence University, University of Wisconsin, Madison, Annamalai University, Ambedkar Law University, and the University of Mumbai. Nani Palkiwala once said, I quote, "A lawsuit once started in India is the nearest thing to eternal life ever seen on this earth. If litigation were to be included in the next Olympics, India would be quite certain of winning at least one gold medal," unquote. He died on 11th December 2002. He was 82. Justice H.R. Khanna was not wrong in saying, I quote, "If a count were to be made of the 10 topmost lawyers of the world, I have no doubt that Mr. Palkiwala's name would find a prominent place therein. We find his words echoing in our memory and leaving a trail of pleasant remembrance," unquote. Youngsters as well as oldies need a constant reminder that Nani Palkiwala explored the legal, literary, cultural, and social world. Nani Palkiwala was the best finance minister this country never had, the best law minister which this country never had, and undoubtedly the best attorney general this country would have ever have had. So to discuss and to enlighten you all about a legendary Nani Palkiwala, we have a very, very elite legal luminary with us. I would like to invite my first guest. He is Honorable Justice Navniti Prasad Singh. Justice Singh is the former Chief Justice of Kerala High Court. Justice Singh completed his schooling from Sindhya School, Gwalior. He did his graduation and passed law from Delhi University. Justice Singh was enrolled as advocate on 2nd July 1980 and started practice in Patna and Jharkhand High Court on commercial taxation and constitutional matter. He became a senior advocate in December 2004. On 6 March 2006, he was appointed as an additional judge of Patna High Court. Honorable Justice Singh was elevated in the post of the Chief Justice of the Kerala High Court on 20th March 2017. He retired on 6 November 2017. I will welcome Honorable Justice Navneeti Prasad Singh on our show. Justice Singh, please unmute yourself. Justice Singh, as you know about, we all heard about Nani Palkhiwala, a legend. But we would like to know from you about Nani A. Palkhiwala, a legend. Honorable Justice Navneeti Prasad Singh, please.
Now, it's difficult to speak about a personality like Naini Palkhiwala. The stature at which he stood, I think, will be difficult for any lawyer to reach that status. He started his practice having done his master's in English and then law from the chamber of Sir Jamshedji Kanga. As was just said by Mr. Goyal, at the age of 30, which I think everyone should think, he authored along with his senior the famous Law of Income Tax and Practice by Palkhiwala as we know it today. Now, few people know that when he came up with the first edition, he had to face a lawsuit filed in Madras High Court for infringement of copyright. There was another series of income tax law, most probably a year or something, that used to be, that was published from Madras. And they filed a suit against him that the concept of writing the book was plagiarized without acknowledgement. It was Mr. Sirvai from Bombay who had gone to defend Mr. Palkhiwala, and they won. The suit was ultimately dismissed. But the point to be noted is that he was only 30 years and maybe barely about 5 to 6 years in practice when he wrote this monumental book. Now, if you are able to see the reports, that is ILR series Bombay, you'll find that from 1950, in all tax matters, and which were usually before Court 1, that is Chief Justice's Court, Justice Chagla, it was Kanga being assisted by Palkhiwala. But then the turn came in 1954. From when onwards, it was Mr. Palkhiwala himself. And as an income tax practitioner, I can point out that whenever a matter of income tax came up before any of the benches in the High Court, the first question of a judge was, is there a Chagla judgment on the issue? And if you had a Chagla judgment, it would be invariably argued by Mr. Palkhiwala. It is the two of them, it is said, that who laid down the foundation of income tax in this country. Now, mostly what I wanted to say has been covered by Mr. Goyal, but I would just like to add a few things, some interesting facets. Mr. Palkhiwala and Mr. Sirvai, they were great friends, both Parsis, both from Bombay. Mr. Sirvai had the distinction of being the Advocate General of any state for the longest period. He is an authority on constitutional jurisprudence, Mr. Sirvai. Now, when the Keshavanand Bharti case came to be referred to the larger bench of 11 judges, state selected Mr. Sirvai to argue for them. Mr. Palkhiwala was leading the petitioners who challenged the right of the state to amend the constitution. History speaks that the case was argued for almost 6 months. And imagine the plight of the Supreme Court, where the entire Supreme Court used to sit to hear this matter every day, day after day, for almost 6 months. We can say at that time it was a mini pandemic, where the Supreme Court was not available to people, except in certain special matters they had specially arranged for single judges to hear on certain days. Now, in midst of the argument, Mr. Palkhiwala picked up Mr. Sirvai's book of Constitutional Law of India and brought the attention of the court to the chapter dealing with constitutional amendment and the amending powers of the parliament, where Mr. Sirvai had vociferously argued that the parliament's power to amend the constitution was limited, contrary to the stand which Mr. Sirvai was now taking before the constitution bench, that the power was unlimited. Mr. Sirvai was quite embarrassed when his book was part of pleadings of the petitioner. And it is said that from that day onwards, for almost a decade, Mr. Sirvai and Mr. Palkhiwala were not even on speaking terms, because Mr. Sirvai felt that he was let down, whereas Mr. Palkhiwala said that you were a jurist and I used your opinion to canvass a point that I was making. It was, of course, subsequently in 90s or thereafter that they met in a meeting and they patched up and they started talking, but that was almost 10 years. Now we come to his famous budget speech, which started in 1958. Now, as the tradition and the practice is that the finance minister would speak about the budget and lay the budget on the floor of the parliament on invariably the 28th of February.
I just want to, Justice Singh, your face has gone down. Just to bring
Sorry.
No, it's because I just received a message from the studio too. Yeah, thank you.
Now, the finance minister would place the budget, speak about the budget. In the evening, first from a Parsi club it started, Palkhiwala, and that would be within hours, he would dissect the budget for common understanding. Now, he has catalogued all of his speeches in one of the books, and they're remarkable. The way he had the economics, the facts, figures, which people didn't understand. For example, in one budget speech, the finance minister took a lot of appreciation from the House for increasing the exemption limit from 8,000 rupees, the basic exemption, 8,000 rupees to 10,000. When Mr. Palkhiwala spoke in the evening, he said he has not increased the limit. He has taken away the exemption. He explained that since the last time 8,000 was fixed as a basic exemption, the inflation was so much that if only the inflationary trend had to be kept in mind, the exemption ought to have been 16,000. And what was given was mere 10,000, and therefore it was 6,000 that was taken away. So there was nothing to cheer. Similarly, when Mr. Morarji Desai presented one of his budgets, where the maximum marginal rate of taxation was brought up to 92%. And the finance minister in the parliament stated that he left 8% as a recognition to the person who worked hard to make the earning. Mr. Palkhiwala retorted by saying that this was a national disgrace. He never minced his words. He said this will only encourage a parallel economy where a person who makes 100 rupees takes home only 8. Of course, his happiest budget speech was when the Janata government came and things were altered. The rates were drastically brought down. The department, I am told, protested, but then it paid the dividend. Then, as a chairman of ACC Limited, he continuously advocated that remove the controls, in line with what Sardar Patel had been saying, that permit quota system, Raj, should go. He says, give the incentive to the business to develop, to grow. There will be no shortage. But unfortunately, the government at that time, growing out of the colonial background, couldn't accept this principle, and they thought everything had to be regulated. Of course, it had some other repercussions or consequences. Anyhow, he kept advocating that shortage of cement will continue so long as you regulate cement. Ultimately, his speeches had result in the government, and from 1982, the cement regulations were eased. Now, I don't know how many of you would be aware that in 1970s, even if you wanted 1 bag of cement for repair of your house, you had to apply to the subdivisional officer for a permit. And as if doing a very great obligation, after a lot of inquiry, the field inquiry reports submitted, he would grant permit for 1 bag of cement. Now that came to be changed from 1982 onwards. And now the situation is, when I was in Cochin, I went and saw one of the seaside yards, and I found Ultratech cement. I said, what's this? He says, this is the Ultratech cement dockyard, where cement is brought for export and pumped into ships directly, storage, and sent abroad. Now, this was the foresight this person had. Now, something very interesting. It was late 60s and early 70s, which was the peak of Mr. Palkhiwala. The first most talked about case was the bank nationalization. Then came Keshav Nand Bharti, then came Privy Purse, then came Bennett Coleman, then came St. Xavier's. And everywhere one could make out one thing: the man's intellect, the command over language, the command over information, his courage and conviction. He never minced words. He was very forthright. In Keshav Nand Bharti, ultimately, when he saved the Indian democracy by a very thin majority, government was not happy. All of a sudden, the then Chief Justice constituted a bench for review. And no one knew what occasioned it. They were to assemble the next day again, and suddenly in the morning it was decided no review is required. Now one doesn't know what transpired. But there were a lot of protests that review was uncalled for. The complexity of Keshav Nand Bharti, because what had happened was, though we had 6 judges saying that the parliament's power to amend the constitution is not untrammeled, they amongst themselves could not agree as to what was exactly basic feature. Theoretically, it's all right. But while illustrating, there were clashes between the two, between the judges. Now, while the case of Rajnarayan versus Indira Gandhi was being argued, one of the issues was the parliament's power to amend the constitution, whereby the election disputes of the prime minister, the vice president, and the president was taken out from ordinary litigation, and that was under challenge. Mr. Shanti Bhushan's argument was that judicial review by a court is a part of basic features, and that can't be taken away. The bench that was hearing then wanted to understand what exactly was basic feature. They were informed that Palkhiwala was there arguing in some other court in the Supreme Court. So they requested Mr. Palkhiwala if he could assist. And it's very interesting. He immediately agreed. And he appeared before this constitution bench and argued for a day, trying to explain the ramifications and the extent of Keshav Nand Bharti. The 5 judges were quite confused. And ultimately, the next day, they recorded thanks to Mr. Palkhiwala and said, we will proceed with the case as it is. Now, if one goes through the speeches, the writings of Mr. Palkhiwala, the clarity of language, the clarity of concepts is writ large. What an ordinary person would take 1 page to explain, he could do it in 2 lines of simple English. To have the attention of the full Supreme Court for 6 months is a tremendous task. We all as practicing lawyers know that to have the attention of judges now even for 5 minutes is difficult. What to talk of 6 months on the same subject? But he was an orator par excellence. Now, there is another very interesting aspect. Before Keshav Nand Bharti, Palkhiwala was called and offered the constitutional post of Attorney General of India. And in fact, he accepted it. He writes in his book that having accepted it, in the night I could not sleep peacefully. He said, whatever the case, he was never perturbed in the night. But this is one of the times when he was disturbed. He came back to Bombay and he felt more disturbed. He immediately wrote to the government, withdrawing his consent. He said that probably this was a God-sent opportunity, because soon thereafter came up Keshav Nand Bharti, and he said, if I was on the other side, God saved the country. we really didn't have a person of his stature to have carried the day through for the citizens. Now, to conclude, I will just read a few lines from the book Kanga and Palkhiwala, which I always find very interesting, the way he writes. And this is preface to the 8th edition. How he takes to task the legislatures, the executives. The legislative work, quote, the legislative work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. This is a branch of Parkinson's law, and its operation has caused Parkinson's disease in the body of our physical code, which he meant was income tax, unquote. Taxes, quote, taxes are the lifeblood of any government, but it cannot be overemphasized that the blood is taken from the arteries of the taxpayers, and therefore the transfusion has to be accomplished in accordance with the principles of justice and fair play. Then he says, concluding his preface to the 8th edition, every government has a right to levy taxes, but no government has the right in the process of extracting tax to cause misery and harassment to the taxpayer and the gawning feeling that he is made the victim of palpable injustice. In Palkhiwala, we had a great statement who had courage and conviction to speak out and to support what he said. It was not that he spoke in air. Every line that he ever spoke, he was ready to support with facts and figures. He was a great man, and I don't think, at least in near future, we will have another to replace him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Singh, for giving your so insight of great Nani Palkhiwala. And what Justice Singh has expressed, only one thing I would like to mention about the cement when he mentioned. I remember the time because I was doing I was a railway contractor at that time. To get a permit at that time from the, as he mentioned about the subdivisional magistrate or the district supply officer, when this family planning came, then it became a compulsion that if you want 2 bags of cement or 4 bags of cement, you have to bring 1 case of family planning. That was the compulsion which DSO has levied at that time. But anyways, that thing has gone, and thanks to Nani Palkhiwala, that today the cement is available off the shelf because of his persuasion.
Now, if I may also add one story to the cement.
Yes, please.
If you will all recall, Mr. Antole's downfall.
Yes, please.
That was just because of cement, because it was established that for every cement permit that the Maharashtra government was issuing, a contribution had to be made to a trust run by the person.
Yes. So he was such a great person and stature. It's like lighting a lamp in front of the sun. Now I would like to invite my next guest. Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Singh, for giving such a I must say, enlightening thing today. Our viewers, and especially the youngsters who have I know that they have not met, but they have not even heard about him properly, has been given such a thing today that they might be enlightened by the views which Honorable Justice Singh has given. Thank you very much, Justice Singh. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and he is Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma is the chairman of Gyan Deep Shiksha Bharati Senior Secondary School, Mathura. He is a leading lawyer of Western UP. He is regularly appearing in Supreme Court and different high courts, including Allahabad, Madhya Pradesh, Delhi, Andhra Pradesh, high courts, etc. He is extensively practicing constitutional, civil, and taxation matters. He is also rendering lots of social services. He is secretary of Kans Nikandan Trust, Mathura. He is founder secretary of Civil Lawyers Forum and president thereafter. Welcome, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma on our show. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, as you know, that today's topic is different than what we used to do every time about the legalities. But today is we are remembering a legend, and that is none other than Nani Palkhiwala. And as our Honorable Justice Singh has mentioned, according to Honorable Justice Singh, he foresee that no one, no lawyer or advocate can reach up to the stature what Nani Palkhiwala has reached, at least for few years or many years, depends. So, and his stature was not only in the constitutional matters, but for the income tax purposes also. And anyway, that we will be telling afterwards. But now we would like to know from you, although you also mentioned that you have no experience with him, but whatsoever you want to say about Nani Palkhiwala, a legend. Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, please.
Yeah, Mr. Goyal, first I am thankful to you to give me an opportunity to say something about the champion of civil liberties, Nani Palkhiwala. I could not get any opportunity to work with him, but I saw him only in the corridors of Honorable Supreme Court, and it was in 1981 perhaps. Anyway, long back, C. Rajgopalachari, our last Governor General, he said about Nani Palkhiwala that Nani is a God's gift to India. And this is actually true. Later on, our Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee also said what you have referred just, that Nani Palkhiwala would have been the best law minister India ever had. And further, that he could have been the best finance minister India never had. In the same line, Honorable retired Chief Justice of Supreme Court R.M. Lodha, he has also said about Nani that he could have been the best judge of the Supreme Court India ever had. So he could have been best in every line. And he was actually a best and great lawyer, I would like to say greatest lawyer of our country. You have already said about his birth and all these things. And Justice Singh has referred with regard to his book, Income Tax, Practice and Law of Income Tax. And that was published when he was just 30 years of age. That how that book was written. He was very much busy in the chambers of Jamshedji Kanga. And the Kanga's name was also there in the book. But the actual complete work was being done by Palkhiwala himself. After completing the professional work, he used to write the book from 10 p.m. in the night till 2 a.m. in the morning. That was his time to write the book. But his grievance was that typists were not available. He engages the typist, they work for 1 or 2 or 3 days and run it. Ultimately, he prepared his younger brother Behram Palkhiwala, who was 7 years younger to him and who was just an student at that time, to type the book. Then Behram Palkhiwala typed the book for a very long period throughout, from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And then that book was completed and published at the age of 30 years. See the curiosity and enthusiasm of a person to write down a book on the topic. That is also important. So happened in the Kesavan Bharti case also, just Mr. Singh has referred. How he was engaged, it is also important. Mr. M.C. Chagla, the retired Chief Justice, he was practicing in those days at Honorable Supreme Court. Up to the matter was referred to the 13 judges bench, Kesavan Bharti case, Mr. Chagla was conducting the this case. When this matter was referred to 13 judge bench, and it was apparently visible that the then government was anyhow want to overrule the Golaknath case. So a search was made. Chagla has said, I cannot do it. Then who can do it? So Chagla first suggested the name of C.K. Dastari. They went to C.K. Daftari. He also said that I have become too old and it's a very lengthy matter and I cannot do it. Then he was also said, suggest someone. Then Chagla and C.K. Daftari consulted, and the name of Palkiwala was finalized. That is, he is the only person who can do it. Palkiwala was at Bombay. So he was called from the Bombay. Initially, he was a little reluctant. It's a very lengthy matter, and I have no such time. But when Chagla and Daftari referred them that the government want to do some special things and democracy of our country is in danger, and the constitution of our country is also in danger, then Palkiwala prepared to argue that case. And that is the history before you. In that case, Palkiwala referred more than 45 constitutions of different countries. And on the point of basic structure, he has referred in his book that there was no judgment of any Supreme Court of any country on the point of basic structure. No judgment at all. He was bare hands for his arguments on the sake of any judgment of any court of the world. He took this point, he has written it, that after the Second World War, new constitutions were prepared in Germany and Japan. Particularly in Germany, prior to Second World War, when Hitler was there, he made so many amendments in the constitution of Germany and centralized all the powers, executive or other administrative powers, in himself. And he became the dictator. After completion of the Second World War and downfall of Hitler, a new constitution was prepared there. And in that constitution, the framers of the constitution was afraid that no other person could do so. So a provision was made that in the constitution, no parliament or no other authority could do any amendment which goes beyond to the basic features of the constitution. That provision was there. Palkiwala took the idea of basic structure from the constitution of Germany, which was made applicable there in 1946. And he developed the theory of basic structure from our constitution. It was not there in our constitution. And he started it from preamble. That since the preamble to the provision of the Constitution Amendment Article 368, there are implied limitations for the Parliament to amend the Constitution. And it was a new theory for the constitutional history of our country, which was accepted by a margin majority of 7-6. And he saved our country thus on that case. With regard to Palkiwala, some new and some important facts are there. That in 1955, when he was just 35 years of age, he was appointed member of the first Law Commission of India for 3 years. Thereafter, again in 1958, he was appointed a member of the second Law Commission of India. It was time of Jawaharlal Nehru. Thereafter, 1963, Jawaharlal Nehru was also there at that time. He was offered the judgeship of Honorable Supreme Court, which he refused. He acted as member of the Law Commission of India both the times, but he refused the judgeship of the Honorable Supreme Court. In 1965, a dispute was there in between India and Pakistan with regard to the Kutch Ran area. And the dispute was going on in International Tribunal at Geneva. So Shastri was the Prime Minister, Shastri was the Prime Minister at that time. He appointed Palkiwala to represent India in the International Tribunal at Geneva. There, Palkiwala argued not on the basis of some law, but on the basis of history and geography of the Kutch Ran area. And on that basis, on the basis of history and geography, he won that case, and the Kutch Ran area was decided to be the area of the India and not that of the Pakistan. In 1968, when Prime Minister was Mrs. Gandhi, he was offered to be the Law Minister of India, but he refused. Thereafter some time, as Mr. Singh has said, He was offered to be the Attorney General of India. First he accepted, but on very next day he refused. An interesting aspect also is there that Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, when she was, always engaged Palkiwala to represent India in all the international matters. And she was a very much admirer of Palkiwala. But in our country, Palkiwala was engaged in all the big matters against the government of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. That includes from Sajjan Singh case, Golaknath case, Privy Purse case, Bankalization, Kesavan Bharti, and up to Minerva Mills case. All cases was against the government of India, and he was against Indira Gandhi's government. During emergency, when firstly, Indira Gandhi also engaged him to represent her in appeal against the Allahabad High Court judgment. He overruled it, he got the stay order. After 2 days, emergency was proclaimed. Palkiwala was very much annoyed by this proclamation of energy. He returned the brief of Mrs. Gandhi of that appeal that I will not do it. And he became a big critic of the emergency in Mrs. Gandhi. Though at that time, all the persons criticizing the emergency or speaking against Mrs. Gandhi were arrested, but Indira Gandhi or his government never arrested Palkiwala. And Palkiwala was very much criticizing every day against emergency and Mrs. Gandhi. Anyway, in 1978, he was awarded Padma Bhushan. But prior to that, when Janata Party government came into existence, Morarji Desai was our Prime Minister. He was offered ambassador to USA. He refused. Anyway, Morarji Desai was bent upon that he is the right person to be appointed as ambassador to USA. He sent Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who was the foreign minister at that time, to Palkiwala's residence, Bombay, that go there and get his consent. Vajpayee went there, they have a dinner together, but Palkiwala refused, I cannot be ambassador. Then Vajpayee sit on a dharna on his gate, and he specifically said that I will not go from here until you give your consent to become the ambassador. And that is the order of my Prime Minister. Then only Palkiwala gave his consent to become the ambassador, and he accepted that post and worked. But later on, it is also very important. Mrs. Gandhi passed so many constitution amendments which were not in favor of democracy. Anyway, when Janata Party came into existence, Janata government undone some of them. But one important amendment of constitution with regard to Article 368, 42nd amendment, that was not undone by Janata government. On this point, Palkiwala was annoyed with the Janata government. He resigned from the ambassadorship of USA. He came to India. He challenged the 42nd amendment in the Supreme Court and got it struck down. That was the reason he resigned from the ambassadorship, though Janata government has accepted it. किसी के लिए मेहरबान नहीं थे, जो खुद स्वयं उनकी समझ में ठीक आता था वो करते थे, मिसेस गांधी हो या जनता गवर्नमेंट हो या कोई और. Then he was also a very good human being. His typist, who has a very long association with him, Pithawala, he was also a Parsi. Pithawala retired when he became too old. But even after his retirement, Pithawala has said in his one interview that he was getting his check of salary on every first day of the month. And he got it, his son has also written, throughout his life, even after the retirement. He was such a human being also. Then, Palkiwala was usually donating to Bharati Vidya Bhavan. When he came to know about Sankar Netralaya, Chennai, he was impressed by the way of working of the Sankar Netralaya. He made regularly a charity to Sankar Netralaya also. And once he was said that some permanent arrangement should be made for expenses of Sankar Netralaya, he donated 2,51,00,000 at that time to Sankar Netralaya, made a FD of it, and so that the general expenditure of the Sankar may be made out by that. So such type of a great person he was. Justice Singh has rightly said that in near future, what was to say, but long future, no other person can be of that stature that Palkiwala was. He has actually saved our country, saved our democracy, and saved our constitution from his wisdom. Otherwise, the votes have been quite separate. I would like to refer one quotation of Justice Kuldeep Singh, retired judge of Honorable Supreme Court. What he has said about Palkiwala, that he was the person who has saved our democracy and constitution from the ill will of the politicians. And it is a fact. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much, Advocate Sharma, for giving an in-depth information about the legal Lumre Nani Palkiwala. And what you have mentioned is really very, very enlightened, and especially those who are studying law or even the general public, they should know how a legal person can has saved the country from the, as Advocate Sharma mentioned, the ill will of the politician. And he was above party politics, as Advocate Sharma says, whether it was Mrs. Gandhi or whether it was Janta government, if anything wrong done by them, he was never want to become a party, rather he always opposed, and he has done it very, very sincerely with full of his heart. And that is what is needed even today. Every time when we read today or we hear what is happening today in the country, we remember him that where is he, why he has gone so early. He should have saved our country by many, many problems which nowadays is coming up. Thank you very much, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, for giving your in-depth views. Now I would like to go to our next panelist, and she is Advocate Shriya Gupta. Advocate Shriya Gupta is a young legal practitioner based at Allahabad. Advocate Gupta completed her schooling from prestigious St. Mary's Convent School, Allahabad in the year 2010, after which she pursued 5 years integrated BA LLB course degree from Faculty of Law, University of Allahabad. Advocate Gupta graduated in the year 2015 and immediately thereafter joined Allahabad High Court, following the footsteps of her late grandfather, Shri Vishnu Kumar Gupta, who was a leading and eminent advocate of his times, and father who now adorns the bench of Allahabad High Court. Some of her remarkable achievements include a winning trophy in 2013 in a national moot court competition organized by University Law College, Bengaluru, followed by another winner's trophy in Mahamaya National Moot Court competition organized by Banaras Hindu University in the year 2014. She also had the occasion of representing her law college in an international moot court competition organized by Bar Council of India in the year 2011 at KIITS Bhubaneswar, where she bagged a semi-finalist trophy. She also served as a vice president of the Moot Courts Society of Faculty of Law, University of Allahabad during the academic year 2013-14 and as its president during academic year 2014-15. Welcome, Advocate Shriya Gupta, on our show. Advocate Shriya Gupta, you have already heard before you Honorable Justice Singh as well as Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma's views about the legend Nani Palkiwala.
Thank you.
But it is a very, very good thing that you have accepted our invitation because our GYAN, GYAN stands for Global Youth Activity Network. We always want to promote the youths and we want to enlighten the youth that the glory of our past of this nation. And you being representing the youth, I am sure the other youths will also be encouraged to participate and come forward even when the seniors are there, because today even the present and the future belongs to the youth, and 65% population of India is youth. So I'm sure a young advocate who is now going to give the views will be definitely very much enlightened. So, Nani A. Palkiwala, a legend, Advocate Shreya Gupta, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. It is indeed my very distinct honor to be present among this august gathering to celebrate the birth anniversary of this courtroom genius. Nani Palkiwala, of course, is a man who needs no introduction. However, just to accept my humble attempt this morning, and as the story goes, Nani was an academically bright student with a very deep love for literature. Very early on in his life, he wanted to become a lecturer in literature. And in fact, he also had a BA and a master's degree. But as fate would have it, he passed over to the position and finally relented to the wishes of his father and began his career in law in the year 1944. Now, when Nani began his legal practice, it is said he found unparalleled success. In fact, he had the most meteoric rise as an advocate in living memory, especially considering his young age and the fact that his family had no legal background. He became one of India's most sought after lawyers in the first 20 years of his practice, and he remained at center stage for almost 5 decades. I would say he was truly a testament to the power of fate that the greatest lawyer of India was won by some measure of accident. Within 11 years of his practice, he had mastered not only taxation law, but also the art of public speaking. As had been pointed out by Justice Singh and Advocate Sharma, in his early 30s, Nani started his budget speeches, where he simplified the annual budget of the central government. And amazingly, he never referred to a single note. The speeches, which started from a small hotel in Mumbai, gradually moved to the Barbant Stadium. And mind you, this Barbant Stadium had a capacity of 35,000 spectators. And Nani's lecture attracted a crowd of more than 1 lakh. So now then, they were accommodated on the ground. Over the years, his practice expanded. He argued labor, he argued tax, he argued constitutional law. But yet, Nani was widely known for his expertise in taxation law. And he wrote the famous book, The Law and Practice of Income Tax, which is rightly referred to as the magnus opus, the Mahabharat of taxation law. And although the authors of this book were both Kanga, his senior, and Nani, Kanga rightly publicly mentioned that it was only out of respect that his name was added. And the entire work is in fact that of Nani. The book was such a success that it had a permanent place in the court of Chief Justice Chagla, who referred to as this book as the book. Now, apart from educating the legal community, he later on felt a greater sense of responsibility towards educating the citizenry about the law that governs them. And it is for this purpose that he came up with several other books, such as Constitution Defiled and Defaced, We the People, We the Nation, India, the Largest Democracy. Now, Nani is most fondly remembered for his contribution to the constitutional law. Nani's fidelity to the Constitution is unmatched. He believed that the Constitution was supreme. Now, as is seen from his written submissions in Keshwan and Bharti, where he argued, and I would like to just quote a sentence from his written submissions, I quote, "Ours is a controlled constitution par excellence. All institutions, including Parliament, are merely preachers of the Constitution. None of them is its master," unquote. He dedicated a large part of his life to the protection of this ideal of Constitution, which he believed was crucial to the development of modern India. Such was Mr. Palkiwala's passion that when hearings of Keshwanand Bharti concluded, Justice Khanna had this to say about his presentation. I quote, "It was not Nani who spoke, it was divinity speaking through him." Later, I asked some of my brother judges for their reaction, and all of them were of the same opinion, unquote. Throughout the course of his legal career, Mr. Palkiwala appeared in numerous cases of constitutional significance, including R.C. Cooper, where the court upheld the rights of the government to nationalize banks, subject to a very serious caveat. Madhav Rao Sindhia case, where the court struck down the presidential order that delegitimized all rulers across the country. Bennett Coleman, where the court struck down a newspaper control policy as violative of Article 19(1)(a), the right to free speech. Keshwanand, of course, where the basic structure doctrine was evolved. Minerva Mills, where the amendment to Article 31C through the 42nd Amendment was struck down, just to name a few. Nani was widely known for his sharp and crisp memory, which he used for his arguments and also for the art of storytelling within the four walls of the courtroom. Now, one document that bears testimony is the affidavit of Nani Palkiwala in Bhopal gas tragedy case in support of Union Carbide Corporation's motion for dismissal on the ground of forum non-convenience. He stated, and I quote, "The Indian system is undoubtedly capable of evolving the law to cope with the advances in technology in the unfolding future. If the Bhopal litigation represents an opportunity for the future development of tort law in India, that chance should not be denied to India merely because some might say that the American system is ahead in development," unquote. Such was Nani's oratory and persuasive skills. Now, I remember coming across one interview of Mr. Harish Salve, senior advocate, when he was asked to share some of his experiences with Nani Palkiwala. He recounted how once a court posed a question at him, and when he finished reading the section, the court said, "I don't need your answer, you've already answered it." So that was his capacity of analysis, and his expressions were marvelous. Now, as a lawyer, the more I read about Nani Palkiwala, one question that inevitably keeps cropping in my mind is, what is the secret behind his stupendous success at bar? How could one man achieve all this in a lifetime? Are there any lessons to be learned from such success? Or is there a formula that can be replicated by anyone? Now, in my quest to find an answer to these questions, I happened to stumble upon this popular book titled Nani Palkiwala, The Courtroom Genius, authored by Shri Arvind P. Dattar, senior advocate. Now, to my surprise, the first chapter of the book, Secrets of Palkiwala's Success, makes an attempt to answer these questions. Interestingly, it seeks to explain his phenomenal success with reference to a 1,000-hour rule. Now, what had happened is, in the early 1990s, there was one Professor Erickson who conducted a study at Berlin's elite Academy of Music. He divided the school's violinists into 3 groups. In the first group, there were star performers who were likely to become world-class violinists later on in life. The second group, those who were merely good. And the third, who were unlikely to ever play professionally. All 3 groups started playing at the same age of about 5 years, and they rehearsed for about the same time of 2 to 3 hours until they were all 8 years of age. But then gradually differences began to emerge. The best students simply practiced more than everybody else. This 10,000-hour rule applies to Palkiwala as well. Without question, it is said, he worked harder, with greater speed than most of his contemporaries. His capacity for hard work was remarkable. Clear strategy, persuasive style of advocacy, speed reading, time management skills, they were only some of the remarkable traits that made Nanabhai Ardeshri Palkiwala the legend that he is. I would like to end on this note. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Advocate Gupta, for giving such a new dimensions about and new thoughts about legend Nani Palkiwala. Now, before I will go to our Honorable Justice Singh, I would like to share few of my memories. I attended his famous budget speech in Brabourne Stadium. At that time, I was the helm of a company. So my pupil told me that if you want to attend, you have to go at least 2-3 hours early. I said, but who will be there at that time? But he said, no, if you will not go, you will not get the seat. And they could manage because they wanted that I should go and attend. And when I reached there, to my surprise, after few minutes or about half an hour, I found even Dhirubhai Ambani walked in, and he was also sitting, waiting for Nani Palkiwala to start his speech. So that was the greatness. And as you mentioned, Advocate Gupta has mentioned rightly that there was no place. People were sitting on the ground, and top bureaucrats, top executives, company executives, directors, managing directors, no dearth of who's who was not there. Everyone was sitting there to hear what he's saying. That was his greatness. Second experience of mine is that in 1988, when VP Singh was the Prime Minister of India, he came out with a scheme of 115J in income tax. I'm sure Justice Singh and Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma might be knowing about that. That 115J was because the companies, what they used to do is that they used to declare the dividend, but they were not paying the tax by taking all exemptions whatsoever available. And all the companies, top companies at that time, Reliance, SR, whosoever, were in this practice, because at that time, the share prices were depending on the dividend, how much company is declaring the dividend. At that time, I was also supposed to finalize my balance sheet of my company. I asked my CA. He says, no, sorry, if you want to declare dividend, because it was the tax on book profit was the amendment of 115J was the clause which they have inserted. So I said, okay, I would like, he said, no, you cannot get any exemption. But anyways, I was a bit person adventurous at that time. So I asked my one junior CA who was assisting me, I said, you do one thing, who is the best person to take an opinion? So he said, Nani Palkiwala. And at that time, Nani Palkiwala used to give the consultation. If you want a consultation, he never wants to talk to a client. He was not having time. So he used to give the consultation to either advocates or the chartered accountant. The company's director or chairman is not supposed to meet him. And his timings, if you want to have a meeting, either when he's going to Delhi, so from his residence to the airport, or if you want during the flight, then you have to book ticket of your own, not his, just so that you will be sitting beside him and talking, or in Delhi while coming from the airport to the court. So I said, no, I would like to have an opinion. So my CA, I dictated him that I want this opinion. And the opinion was that, that the company was in profit up to December on that year. Company declared as per the Companies Act, closed the books in December, declared the dividend in the month of January. And in end of the January or the early February, company procured an asset which was that much the depreciation, because at that time, Justice Singh might be knowing that the depreciation was for 100%, even if you are purchasing an asset on the last day of the month, year, financial year, that even if you purchase on 31st of March, you will get the depreciation 100%. I to send a query that I have purchased, the company acquired the asset on the February. So the depreciation is too much and the profit is write-off. So, and company has already declared the dividend. So whether, because now in March, we have to close the books as far as the income tax is concerned. So whether we have to pay tax or not. The query was sent. At that time, his office charged 6,000 rupees for the query. My CA went there. He gave the check. And he was told that within 3 days, he will get a call and he has to get the opinion. 3 days passed, 1 week passed, and nothing has happened. So he called. I asked my CA to call, and the CA that office replied, "No, sir, the boss has not yet given any opinion." The 10th or 11th day, the call came from his office that the Nani Palkiwala wants to meet the CA. CA went there. He was a young boy and he was shivering to enter his chamber because it was not easy to even sit in front of him. And when he went there, he asked him to sit. And he asked first question, "Who made this query? You?" So he said, no, sir, I have not made. It was by the company's director." His reply was, "Go give him my compliments to him. Tell him, yes, he is right. He can go ahead. I cannot give my written opinion because I was the person who has suggested the government to come insert this 115J so the companies cannot use this loophole and can give the, but I never thought there is a loophole like this. So I will not give the this thing." And the CA, when he came out, immediately the office person of the Palkiwala called him. He said, "Take your check back." And he came back to me. And when he told me, I called my statutory auditor. I said, "Look, this has happened." He said, "When Palkiwala has said it's an authority, I closed my books of accounts without paying any tax and declared the dividend. Immediately after that, even the Reliance and SR companies have closed the book in that year. And that clause or 115J was amended with MAT, minimum alternate tax, afterwards. That was a experience which I had two experiences. But the thing is that how genius he is and how simple he is. He admitted his own deficiency, or I will not say deficiency, that he could not foresee that somebody can think like this. So I have so much great regard, and I'm so happy that today we are remembering him after so many years. Really, wherever he is, I am sure that he is bestowing his all the best wishes to the entire country or the entire world. Thank you very much for hearing me patiently today. Now I would like to ask Honorable Justice Singh if he would like to share something more about the legend Nani Palkiwala. Honorable Justice Singh, please. Please unmute.
I don't think so that apart from a politician, any person has generated.
Justice Singh, again, I will have to tell you.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Any person has generated so much of interest amongst public. So many books have been written by him and of him. Now, the young lady, she mentioned one of the books, The Courtroom Genius, written by a genius himself, that is Mr. Datar. We then have a lot of articles written about him by Mr. Fali Nariman. Now, I don't recollect that so far as legal fraternity is concerned, anyone has been so much talked about or written about. Volumes and volumes about him. What worried him, the only thing that actually worried him was liberty of a citizen. May it be taxation. He always said that to avoid tax is a right. It is evasion which is wrong. He said that the legislature makes it difficult for a citizen, but it is his duty to find a loophole and lighten his burden. Now, 115J was one of the examples where what was known as that time zero tax companies. They came about. Now, I didn't know of this, that it was his suggestion, because most of the Tata companies became a zero tax company. They would book in some asset towards the end of the year and take depreciation, which would write off the profits, accrued profits, but they were all notional. And that is how the department came about with MAT. Now, one of his books, which is just a collection of his speeches, I would request every lawyer to read that book, We the People, followed by We the Nation. They are a collection of his articles written over a period. What statistics he refers to. And I'm amazed from where he gets and collects those statistics. Now, one of the things I recall, was with regard to the litigation. He says the least litigious state, one of the least litigious states is Japan. The reason he gives is quite different. It's not morality of the people there or anything. He said it's the morality of the lawyers. In Japan, the ratio of students migrating to practice and being permitted to do so is very adverse. In the sense, not everybody gets to practice. The professional standards are so high. The result is that if you go to a lawyer there, he'll never advise you litigation. He'd say, better settle the matter quickly. Because if he advises litigation and he loses, then he'll be hauled up. In the colleges, the results are also just like, if you'll recall, when Institute of Chartered Accountant comes up with its results, if it was in excess of 5% or 6% pass percentage, people used to wonder, it has been very liberal. More than 5% of the people have passed. Now that was the result there. And he said that unless college education, legal education, the standards are improved, the standard of litigation cannot improve. And it is keeping in mind this, that the National Law School was set up at Bangalore. And then such law schools were set up all over the country, in every state. Now, he had this foresight. And he encouraged people into these things. Now, there are many, many, many things that one can keep on talking about him, many facets.
Yes. Only one thing which I want from you is any message you would like to give to the youngsters, Honorable Justice Singh, that about any message which you would like to give in the light of
one thing is very clear. One always wondered from where he got all the information he had. Now, one need not go very far. He used to work for it, and tirelessly. We have heard instances where he has called for consultation people at 2 in the morning. He is given time at 4 in the morning. He is given time at 5:30 in the morning while driving to the airport. So in that way, he was a workaholic. He did have a God's gift, but then it was not merely gift, it was sheer hard work. Assimilating knowledge, assimilating information, and knowing how to use it, when to use it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Singh.
Thank you.
I'm sure the youngsters are going to be enlightened today very much with the profile of Nani Palkiwala, the legend. Now, I would like to ask Advocate Ramesh Sharma what you want to give the message, as well as if you want to add something. You have
Yeah, Mr. Goel, I want to add.
2 minutes.
Yes.
Please.
Once upon a time, the government of Jammu Kashmir was in hot waters in some matter in Jammu Kashmir High Court. The Chief Minister wanted Advocate General of the state to go and consult Palkiwala and got the affidavit prepared from Palkiwala. Appointment was taken and that appointment was granted at 10 p.m. and up to 2 p.m. for 2 hours only. Advocate General reached there. Consultation started at 10 p.m. and it goes up to 4:30 in the morning. And thereafter, Palkiwala himself took his car and he dropped Advocate General of Jammu and Kashmir to his hotel. That was the generosity and that was the way of working throughout the night. Nowadays, a lawyer cannot accept to do like that. But it has to be done. That only we can think to have something. Few other things are there, Mr. Goel. There is a book, as Mr. Singh has said, that much has been written on Palkiwala. There is a biography, several biographies are there, but one biography which is said to be much nearer to Palkiwala is written by Dharmendra Bhandari, who is a chartered accountant working with Palkiwala. He has written it that when Palkiwala was too young going to schools, he awakened at about 1:30 or 2, put on his school dress. They speaks Gujarati in their house and said to his mother, "Mama, aba school java cha." Mother was surprised. It is only 1:30 or 2. How you put on your dress? She again put off her dress and got him slept. Then see his interest of reading. He settled with a bookshop. He used to go to the bookshop and sit inside the shop and read the books without purchasing them till the shutters of the shop are down. So he was so much curious to have the knowledge at that time as a young age. These all things are the examples we should learn from it.
Okay.
That's why I want.
Thank you very much, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Youngsters or the young generation should learn how a person can become great, that after so many years, today we are doing the media conference on him. That is the greatness. Thank you very much, Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma. Now the last word, although the last word is always a very important word, Advocate Shreya Gupta. Any message or anything you would like to say about? Please unmute. Please unmute.
I would just like to add to something to what Honorable Justice Singh had just told us. This book, Nani Palkiwala, The Courtroom Genius, it states that Palkiwala's secretary, Dolly Kuka, for several years, he recollects giving urgent appointment at 3:30 a.m. in the morning at his residence. And this odd time was chosen because he had to leave for the airport at 4 a.m. For him, it is said that time management was a very important facet of his personality. For him, wasting time was a major crime. And he was even seen agitated when he was made to wait for hearings, or if some matter prior to that would take very long. So there were all these traits, time management, speed reading. It is said that he had a photographic memory. Once he would glance through a paper from top to bottom, everything that it had, he could memorize. So these were some of his traits which made him the legend that he is.
Okay. Thank you very much, Advocate Shreya Gupta. So today you have seen and heard and viewed what was Nani Palkiwala, his qualities and his in-depth knowledge like our Honorable Justice Singh has mentioned about that how it's hard work. Today, if we will do even 10% of the hard work which he used to do,
Yeah.
I think we will be a global leader, because he is not only for one thing, for everything, whether it's a social work, whether it's whatsoever, and such a simple person, a person who is ready to help anyone if it is a genuine thing. But he is very, very harsh to the government or anyone who is going to harm our country. His heart bleeds for the country, for the constitution, for the legal fraternity. Thank you very much for joining us today. And today's program, which has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day a new topic. But tomorrow being Sunday, we want to give some relaxation. And the relaxation is that today media conference with Lal Goyal, it will be Swar Lahari. Yes, on every Sunday we have a edutainment, that is educational as well as entertainment, where we will be telling something about when you are enjoying the songs, about the cast, about the music director, about the lyrics, about the singer, as well as some incident regarding that song or that movie or that casting. So please, my guest, the singer tomorrow is Miss Sandhya Mishra. She's a renowned singer from Mumbai. She will be joining tomorrow at 10:30. So please do tune in tomorrow at media conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30. Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Navneet Singh Ji, as well as Advocate Ramesh Kumar Sharma, as well as Advocate Shia Gupta for joining us and enlightening all of us, all the viewers. And thank you very much, all the viewers, for joining us. Thank